Alright guys, welcome to the T1 Fitness channel where we get into everything dealing with fitness. Today we're focusing on the back and bicep exercises. Alright guys, so the first exercise I did was the seated row. The seated row focuses on four main muscle groups. That's your lats, your traps, your biceps, and your rhomboids. For some of you that may not be familiar with all of the muscle groups, the rhomboid is your muscles that are in between your shoulder blades on your back. So that hits that one, as well as your lats, your traps, and your biceps, like I stated. So the main thing you want to focus on whenever you're doing this exercise is whenever you're pulling that weight towards you, whenever you're pulling that cable towards you, to make sure your elbows stay in and not make sure you're not chicken winging it out everywhere. Making sure you're pulling that muscle or pulling that cable straight to your core. You want to make it touch your stomach and then extend back out. But whenever you're pulling it towards you, you want to feel that pinch in your back. You want to feel like the pinch right there in the middle of your back and in the top part of your back. So you want to make sure you feel it everywhere. Whenever you're pulling that weight too, you also feel it here in the top part of your biceps. So once you're pulling them towards you, you'll feel all of that burn in those different parts. But when you are extending out, make sure you're still controlling the weight and not letting it slam so hard. It's about control. This workout is about control. You want to control the weight all the way to your core. Make sure you hold it there for a second, maybe a second and a half, and then extend back out. And then you want to keep pulling it. Make sure you pinch that back and then extend back out. So that is a very key thing to do whenever you're doing this exercise, is having control of the weight and not letting the weight control you. I did 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps. That's typically what I do for this exercise. I did one warm-up set where I did the least amount of weight I can do, and I just kept pulling the weight to me for 20 reps for the warm-up, and then I did my actual 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps, ascending with the weight. Alright, so the next exercise we're focusing on is a standing dumbbell bent over row. I know it's a mouthful, and it's kind of weird to say, because if you're standing up, you probably wouldn't be bending over. It's a weird exercise to kind of say, but at the same time, it's a very, very good isolation muscle exercise for your rear delts, which is on the back part of your back right here, that is sitting to the back part of your shoulder, all the way into the middle part of your back, as well as your lats. So whenever you're doing this exercise, you want to use a bench or something similar to that to put the dumbbells on. And whenever you're doing that, you want to make sure that you keep your back straight. Your form, I cannot stress this enough, your form is so important when doing this exercise. Because when you're doing dumbbell exercise with this, you can easily lose form, and you can get caught up in just simply doing the exercise and not being cognizant of what your form looks like. So typically I like to do this exercise in front of a mirror or something, because I want to be able to look at my form and to make sure my back is still staying straight while I'm pulling that weight up to my core. Similar to the seated row, what you want to do is extend. After you extend, you want to pull that weight up to your core and pinch that back, like I said, but you're going to feel more of a burn in your rear delts as well whenever you're doing that exercise. So whenever you're pulling your elbows back, you're going to feel a burn in those muscle groups. And if you feel that burn in that muscle group, you're obviously doing it the right way. But I cannot stress this enough. Whenever you are doing this exercise, make sure you can actually see how your form is. You want to keep that back straight. When you're bent over, you don't want to go too far bent over, but you don't want to be standing straight up too much. You want to get that perfect angle where your back is straight and you're able to lift that weight up into your core. Now, if you're not able to pull that weight up to your core, you might want to start off with a lower weight. Like, drop your ego, just get to a lower weight to where you can actually do consistent reps where your form is solid. That's the biggest thing that I can say for this exercise. I normally do 4 sets of 10 to 12, or sometimes 12 to 15. It just kind of depends. If I'm doing heavier weights that day, then I'll typically do 10 to 12. It just depends on what you are trying to do, whether you're trying to build more muscle, or if you're just trying to build more muscular strength. So when you're doing the exercise, form, be consistent with it. I can't stress that enough. Alright, so now we're moving to most people's favorite exercise group, the biceps. So I did the easy bar curl. There's so many different variations to do a curl. You can do it with dumbbells, you can do it with the barbell. Obviously I'm doing it with the easy bar. You can do it with a straight bar. You can do curls with so many different things, but I prefer to do it with the easy bar. So whenever you're doing any of the variations of the curl, the focus on that is squeezing, that contraction. Whenever you're squeezing that muscle when you're pulling that weight up. Whenever you start off and you're pulling that weight up, you should feel that bicep muscle get tighter as you get closer to the top. You want to squeeze it all the way up, give it about a half a second to a second, and then lower it back down. And then continue to do that, and you will feel it literally in all the long and the short head of your bicep, especially when you're doing the easy bar curl. I do the easy bar curl with a close grip. You can do it with a wider grip. The wider grip would get more on the outer part of the bicep. So whenever you're doing the closer grip, you can definitely feel it right here on the inside of your bicep. But making sure you're squeezing that bar all the way up to your chest, pretty much almost touching your chin, but obviously don't hit yourself in the chin. But you want to make sure that you can feel that muscle tightening as you lift it up. A common mistake that people make is trying to do too much weight with the curls, and they end up, throwing out their shoulder or tearing a bicep. The thing is about the bicep, no matter how big a bicep you have, it's a very small muscle, and it's very, 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 very susceptible to injury. So when you are doing this exercise, make sure you're doing a weight that you can handle, that you can squeeze all the way at the top and control all the way down. And then squeeze all the way at the top and control all the way down. Making sure that your form is still good and making sure you're getting that actual squeezing and you can feel that muscle tightness at the top. So I did 4 sets of 10 to 12, and again with the ascending weight every time. I did 10 pounds each time. I added on 10 pounds each time, every time I did the curl. So that's something that you should want to follow, but if you can't ascend every time, just do that weight as many times as you can, and then try to ascend maybe 5 pounds, and you'll see significant growth over time. Alright, so now we're going to be talking about one of my favorite biceps exercises, and that is the dumbbell incline curl. Whenever you are doing the incline curl, you obviously want to be on an incline bench, but also you want to start off with your arms to the side, and then whenever you're doing that motion, you want to make sure you're going up and in towards your sternum, towards the middle part of your chest. And so you can really feel that muscle contraction and feel that squeeze whenever you get to the top, whenever you bring that weight towards you. So just like every other biceps exercise, you want to make sure that you are bringing that weight up all the way to you, and so you can feel your biceps tighten as you get closer to the top. One of the mistakes that people make with this exercise is they start to lose that form. Like many other exercises, and especially the ones that I've stated in this video, you want to make sure you keep that form consistent, because like I said, injuries can happen when your form is not consistent. So if you get a little loose with the dumbbells and you just go out farther than you're supposed to, you could possibly strain your shoulder or strain the chest muscle or even tear your bicep. I don't want to scare anybody from doing this exercise, but I'm just being honest about what the possibilities are if you do not do this exercise correctly. So make sure you are watching your form and making sure you're doing that up and in whenever you're doing this exercise, and make sure you're getting that tightness once you get to the top of the exercise, and make sure you're also controlling that weight back down, because if you just let that weight fall, it can also lead to serious injury as well. So I normally do about 4 sets of about 10 to 12 reps of this. Sometimes I do 12 to 15 if I'm doing a little bit lighter weight and I'm trying to get my muscular endurance up. But normally what I'm doing right now, since I'm trying to bulk back up a little bit, is I'm doing more weight. I'm starting off with more weight, and then I'm doing a little bit less reps off the top. So I didn't do a warm-up set with this one. I just did four sets of 10 to 12 with ascending weight, obviously. But I do really enjoy this exercise. Alright, so the last exercise we're going to be talking about is the dumbbell shoulder press. So the dumbbell shoulder press works your delts, your traps, your triceps, and your upper chest. So just like any of the other dumbbell exercises that I've shown you, it requires a very consistent, very strict form whenever you're doing this exercise, especially whenever you're doing the seated version like I'm doing here. That exercise also doesn't allow you to use a lot of your upper chest as backup to lift the weight. So whenever you're doing this exercise, if you're doing it seated, make sure that you start with a little bit lower weight than you're normally used to, maybe 5 pounds lower than your normal, just to kind of gauge where your shoulder muscles are at, because this exercise is solely your shoulder muscles pushing up the weight. And that's what also makes it such a good exercise to do for your shoulders, because your shoulders are taking on all of the weight that you're having to push up. So definitely this is something that I would recommend that you do if you're trying to build up stronger shoulders, because the simple fact of, like I said, this is an isolation exercise and you have to rely completely and solely on your shoulder muscles to get the weight up. So I did 4 sets of 10 to 12 reps because I am going up in weight and I don't want to strain my shoulders. So I'm trying to build my muscle up, but also maintain my proper form and not injure myself. So whenever you're doing this exercise, like I said, make sure you maintain consistent form and make sure you're starting off with weight a little bit lower than what you're normally used to doing on shoulder press, and then kind of working your way up from there and kind of gauging where your shoulder muscles are. Alright, so that wraps up this video. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel. Hopefully today you guys have learned a little something about back and bi exercises, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.